Hi guys, we're working with utilities today and we're doing the water and sewer today for 11.5. Now, if you live in the country, you're not going to have to worry about this. Your water comes from the well and you have your own sewer. But if you live in the city, you're going to have water that is piped into you and your sewer goes out some more tubes that go into the city disposal system. So you are charged for usage of the water. So we're going to get right into this. Your water and sewer is normally based on its cost of how much you use, and they do measurements of 1,000 gallons. Okay, the unit is 1,000 gallons. Now, we're going to get right into the example and see how things work because there's not much to be said about it other than your bills are normally quarterly bills. And so 4 times a year, every 3 months, you'll have a bill for your water and sewer. Okay, in the ground by the front of your property there in town, you can a metal disc that you can pull up, and that is where the shut-off valve in their meter is for your water. But they will get readings for the city and they will give you a bill for this. So let's take a look here. Example 1 here, okay? Example 1 talks about a quarterly water charge for a customer who lives outside the city. Okay, we're going to stop there and talk about it. There are different rates. If you live in the city limits, you will have a lower rate because the water and sewer is going less of a distance. If you live outside the city, you're going to have a higher rate. So looking at the chart you're going to use on page 419 and table 11.4, you're going to be looking at the column that's for either inside the city, which is the code -01, or for outside the city, which is going to be -02. So be careful when you're doing your homework that you're paying attention to where this residence is, okay? So let's back to our example here. This person lives outside the city and his previous meter reading was 4624.1 and the present meter reading is 4676.5. Now, our meter readings are by the 1,000 gallons, okay? So the first step to figuring out what they want us to do is to find the number of thousands of gallons that we have used. Okay, so just like we've done with our other utilities, we're going to take the latest reading and subtract our previous reading so we can see how many gallons we've actually used. And so that is 52.4 thousand gallons that we've used. Okay, so now that we know how much we've used, we've got to look at our chart. And our chart says, table 11.4, that our first 5,000 gallons or less has a certain rate. Anything above 5,000, we will be charged at a different rate. So we are obviously over the 5,000 gallons, so we got to see how much over we are. So we're going to take that 52.4, which is thousands, and we're going to subtract the 5 from it. And that's going to tell us that we're 47.4 gallons over. Okay, so when we figure out the cost now, we're going to have to find 2 different measurements. So the first one here is to find the extra. Okay, so we figured out we had 47.4 extra thousand gallons. Okay, we're going to take that total and we're going to multiply it by the cost that our chart tells us on page 419. And it says any gallons of water extra of the 5,000 is going to cost $2.76. So we're going to go ahead and multiply them together, and that's the cost of the extra. Now that we've got the extra, now we got to add to it the cost of the first 5,000. Okay, the cost of our first 5,000 is just a straight standard total. Okay, and we have to be careful because we've got to look at the right column. This person, remember, is outside the city. So the base price is $16.94 for being outside the city. We're going to take that total, add it to what we just found, and that's going to give us the cost total for our water bill here. Okay, so straightforward is we've got to find how many gallons we've used. Remember, we're measuring it by thousandths of gallons. Okay, find anything over the 5,000 gallon mark. We're going to use that, multiply it by a different rate than the first 5,000, which has the standard fee. Making sure we know whether we're being charged for in-city or out-city. we just basically have one more problem that we're going to work with, and that's with throwing in the sewer cost here. Okay, so we're going to go on to our second example here, and our second example says that we want to find the quarterly water and sewer charges for a residential customer now in the city who uses 31,300 gallons, okay, in a quarter. Use 11.4 to find the combined total for the bills. Okay, here's where we're different here, okay? We've got 31,380. This is what we were told. This is just gallons, not thousands of gallons, so we're gonna have to make sure that we're using the converting for this. Okay, so very first thing we need to find is how many thousands of gallons we've used. So we're gonna take our 31,380, subtract the 5,000. Remember, this is what is excess over. Okay, so this family has used 26,380 gallons more. Okay, now that we know how much over we used, we're going to find that cost. We're going to take the number of gallons, this is total gallons, and we're going to multiply it by $2.76 for every 1,000. Okay, so basically what we're going to do is take this total, divide it by 1,000, and multiply it by the cost. Okay, that's really what we did up here in example 1, but now we have to find the total amount of thousands here. Okay, this is what's different than from example 1. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and multiply that out, and we find out the cost for the amount of usage over the 5,000. Okay, now that we figured that out, now we're going to go to step 3, and step 3 is now we're going to go ahead and simply add it to what our cost of our first 5,000 gallons was, which, looking at the table, we find out that it's $14.40 because we're in the city limit. Add our two totals together, and we find that our total water bill for that quarter is going to be $87.21. Now, we're not just interested in the water. We want to know how much our sewer cost is too. So the next step is now to work with our sewer. Now, our sewer cost is, we're going to use the total up here of the water that we've used, of our total combined, and that's up here in the problem. Remember, our meter reading was 31,380. That's the total number we're using. When we're dealing with sewer, we're not worried about the standard cost of the 5,000 like we did with water. Okay, we need to go ahead and use the total amount. So we have to look back into our problem to figure out what the total amount was. So we're taking that 31,380 and looking at our chart, it tells us what we need to multiply it by. And it says that it's going to cost us $2.47 for every 1,000 gallons used. Okay, so we're going to take 31,380, divide it by 1,000 gallons, and then take that amount of 1,000 gallons and multiply it by $2.47. That's going to give us our total for sewer. Now that we have our sewer, we got to go back, and it's asking us for what our combined total is. So the last step now is to add together what our water bill is and what our sewer bill is. Add them together, and we find out that our quarterly charge for this family is $175.12 per quarter. Okay, guys, that's everything that's basically in this section today. So we're going to look at a couple problems that you're doing in your book and help you out here. So looking at problem number 1. Problem number 1 in your textbook has a whole chart here. Problems 1 through 8 are basically the same thing. It's asking us to use table 11.4 to find the water and sewer charges. The accounts ending with -01 are for inside the city, and those ending in -02 are for outside the city. So we have to be careful looking at the account number to know which one we're looking at. So looking at problem number 1, we're using the account number that ends in -01, so we know we're working with inside the city. The next thing we need to look at is what our meter reading is. Okay, so they gave us the previous and the present reading. So that's the very first thing I need to work with, is to figure out how much water we actually used. And so to do that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take and subtract these. Okay, when I subtract it, remember there already our meter reading is in thousands of gallons. So I'm just subtracting it, and I know I've used 21.2 thousand gallons. Okay, now with our water, remember we're going anything above 5,000. So another way of writing 5,000 in thousands is 5. That's why I'm subtracting the 5. So I'm going to go 21.2, subtract the 5, and I find out that I've used 16.2 extra thousand gallons. Okay, so now that I know what my extra is, now I need to go to my chart on page 419, and it's going to tell me what my cost is for over. And looking at it, I'm inside the city limits again. I find that it is $14.40 for the first 5,000. And then for anything over, it's going to be a $2.76 charge for that. So I'm going to multiply that by my thousands, add it to that, and this is my water bill. Okay, so that's the one column that they're asking us is to find the water. Okay, now we need to find the sewer cost. And remember, sewer cost is over the whole total amount that I'm used. So how much total did I use? Well, I ended up using the 21.2 thousand gallons here. Okay, so I'm going to use that cost, multiplying it together by the cost of 2.47. And I have a quarterly base fee, it says in the chart, that I have to add to it. So here's my base fee, here's the usage, multiply them, add them together, and this is my sewer cost. Okay, that's what they're asking us to do for basically problems 1 through 8, is working through that chart and getting the answers. Okay, now we're going to get to the rest of the problems in part B. And the rest of the problem in part B is asking us to find what is our number of days that the bill is covering, what is my water and sewer cost, so that means they want to have them total combined, and then what is the cost per day for using the water and the sewer. Okay, so this is basically like what we've been doing for all our utility problems in the last couple days. I need to go to the back of my book to find the amount of days, okay? So using the table in 567, you're going to put in, problem number 9 is asking for the start day of March 6th, and the end day is June 4th. Remember, we're talking quarterly, so we're going to be roughly 3 months here. So we need to figure out how many days that's going to be. So I find out what the number is for June 4th, and I find out it's 155. The day for March 6th is 65. Subtract them, and I find it's exactly 90 days. Okay, so now that I know the number of days, now I need to find out what the total cost is. So I'm going to go back and look at my answers that I got for problem number 1. 59.11 and 62.76 were my two totals for water and sewer. All I'm going to do is now add them together to get my total cost. So that's going to be $121.87. Now I just need to find the cost per day. And just like we've been doing to find the cost per day, I'm going to take the total cost and divide it by my days, which are 90. Okay, once I go ahead and divide that, I find out it's cost me $1.35 a day for water and sewer. Okay, guys, you're going to be doing that for the rest of your problems through 16. That is it for today. I hope it makes sense. If you have questions, give me a holler.